Alright, friends, we will now look at the way frugality in design can be operationalized. It's alright to say that whatever we make, whatever services we provide, must be affordable. But why do we want affordability? Aren't people making money even at the current level of market system? I mean, a lot of companies are making huge monies. A lot of people are getting hugely paid. Where is the problem? The problem is that there is a very vast exclusion taking place in our society, some of which manifest in the form of extreme forms of social protest, sometimes, unfortunately, even social violence. So why do people become angry? They become angry because they are ignored by the state, market, and even the civil society. And why are they ignored? Because the cost of providing products and services to them, the way they exist today, is very high. So let's say, if you have a model of healthcare where health has to be provided to people through hospitals, stationary hospitals, then in a region where population density is, let us say, 30 persons per square kilometer, to serve 1,000 people, you would need many more hospitals. Assumption is that nobody has to go, let's say, beyond 20 kilometers from the hospital. But in a region which has 3,000 persons per square kilometer, you can have the same amount of service, same amount of utility, same amount of functionality of the particular hospital achieved at much smaller distance. So cost of infrastructure increases if the model of providing service remains the same. So what do? We think of mobile services, a mobile hospital. Even that becomes very costly when people live in remote areas, let us say 5 persons, 10 persons per square kilometer, in the mountains, in the tribal areas, in the forest areas. Then what do? You say, all right, use mobile phone, let me study your eyes, you take a photograph of your eye, SMS to me, MMS to me, or send it by mail, and the doctor is able to diagnose it, and is able to try and provide care to you where you are using e-medical service. So various models of inclusion emerge when we understand and identify the exclusion at spatial level. Spatial meaning some regions are excluded. Sectoral level, certain sectors of economy exclude people. So for example, if there is no educational institution, say beyond 10th class in a tribal region, then naturally they are excluded from the education sector. It will also take place among the social segments. So if there is no software that can convert the deaf and dumb sign language into text, then deaf and dumb people can't make friends with normal people, differently able people. And then the result is that they socialize among themselves, so the kind of reflexes they get, the kind of knowledge they are able to access is much less than what other people, not having that handicap, are able to have. So there could be exclusion because of disabilities. There could also be exclusion because of certain skills for which market doesn't exist. So I am a wonderful potter who can make wonderful houses of mud and clay. But nobody makes mud houses in the cities anymore, even in the villages for that matter, in large number of villages. So then my skill has no market. So I have a skill, I know something better than others, but I'm unemployed. I'm excluded from the marketplace because my knowledge is not being prized. I'm a great storyteller, but I can only tell a story in my language. But that language is not the one that is taught to the children who go through so-called English medium school. So these children, when they want to hear stories, they go to English stories, or French stories for the matter. So there's no market for my stories. Even if I put my stories on the web, who's going to download? Nobody possibly is interested among the young generation in local language stories. So I have a great skill, but there is no market for it. So therefore, I am excluded as a potential entrepreneur from the marketplace. There could be exclusion also at the level of season. So now there's a lot of rain. India had terrible rain recently, cloud burst. Unfortunately, a lot of people died. A lot of rivers were in spate. So during the period when large part of our land mass is under flood, under water, accessibility becomes poor. So a lot of people, their needs are not serviced even if they can afford, and even if those needs, services exist, because the physical transportation gets affected in those seasons. So we can have exclusion at the spatial level, at the sectoral level, at the social level, at the skill level, and at the seasonal level. There are different levels at which exclusion can take place. When we want to bring frugality and also inclusive development, we must remember that the solutions must take into account the existing parameters of exclusion and try to overcome those parameters or those constraints when we design the product and services. So let us look at some examples how frugal solutions have been developed. Two brothers in Assam, and as you will see this windmill on the screen, which is a bamboo windmill costing about 50 euro, or say 5,000 rupees. And this 50 to 70 euro windmill, bamboo windmill, what does it do? It pumps a hand pump, pumps water through the hand pump, and this water is used to irrigate a small paddy field. Mushtaq Ahmad and Mehtar Hussain did not answer the two questions that they asked, same way as I and you would have answered. First question they asked, does it matter whether the irrigation field is, whether the paddy field is irrigated in 4 hours or 40 hours? It doesn't really matter. The second question they asked, does it matter whether the water comes in the field in smooth flow or in spurts? Because as you know, hand pump has a single valve, so water comes in spurts. It comes, goes, comes, goes. They asked the question, would paddy yield be affected if water came smoothly instead of coming in the spurts? The answer was again no. Now, where is the learning possible from this example? By asking this question that, look, it doesn't matter whether water to the paddy field is given in 4 hours or 40 hours, they paid attention to two very important insights. One, the slower irrigation actually sometimes is more sustainable, because if you had fast irrigation, more nutrients would leach down the soil. So if water goes slowly, less nutrients are leached, very sustainable. In any case, productivity is not affected if you irrigate it in 4 hours or 40 hours. What is the lesson? The lesson is maximizing yield per unit of time may not always be a good idea. What? Maximizing output per unit of time is not a universal dictum? No. This is an example where slowing down the output per unit of time actually led to better outcome. And second question was whether it is in spurts or smooth, doesn't matter. So what did they do? They didn't put a gearbox to smoothen the flow or to maximize the flow. Gearbox is the most difficult component in a windmill to maintain, apart from being the costliest item. So they developed a frugal design by asking questions differently. And by asking questions differently, all of you can make products frugal. And remember, when you have products using local raw material, such as bamboo in this case, many of you may not have to spend money because you may have bamboo rope in your own backyard. So the paid out cost is much lesser than what actual cost of material may be. So what do you do in that case? You will like to then not only learn about the materials that he used, about the design that he made, but you will also learn the principles underlying this innovation. So you can learn from the innovation, or any innovation for that matter, at 4 levels. Artifactual level, the design, the form, the feature, the function. So, for instance, there was an innovator, Yusuf, who designed a groundnut digging machine in Rajasthan, Sikar district. Another entrepreneur and innovator in Andhra Pradesh, in Visakhapatnam, Dr. Ramana, got an idea. He said, look, what does groundnut digger do? It picks up the pods, stirs the sieve, drops the soil, and collects the pods. He wanted to make a sea beach cleaner. Function was same. Lift the sand, the debris, maybe there are people who have left the beer bottle there. Sieve that, collect the debris, throw the sand there, move on. So this is an artifactual example of artifactual learning. Same product with minor modification in features and form has been adapted to another domain. Second was heuristic, a principle underlying, as the case of windmill showed. There could also be a learning at the level of metaphor or analogy. For instance, we have a lotus leaf. Lotus leaf has hydrophilic property. When you put a drop of water, it tries to repel it. So water moves away from the leaf. It doesn't stay on the leaf. Now, if you wanted to have clothes, which when they become dirty, you just shake them and the dirt goes away. You don't need to use detergent, you don't need to use soap to clean them. And if you learn from lotus leaf the physics of it and try to bring that physics into your shirt, fiber, the clothes that you make, that will be a case of analogic learning or metaphorical learning. And the fourth level is the learning at the gestalt level, at the configurational level, at the constellation of factors level. That means you don't learn only for one product or one feature or one principle. You learn from the combination of factors. And you try to understand that for a sustainable, frugal, accessible ecosystem of innovation, you need to bring various factors together. Now, combination may vary from place to place. So the example of double-decker route bridge, you need technologies, you need institutional conditions, and of course, you need cultural values. So this is a gestalt of innovation ecosystem. We can learn at all the four levels. Having found this way of understanding the frugality and inclusion at the same time, how would we develop solutions? So let's look at what we are going to do next. All of you will have problems to solve and real life problems to solve. So let me give an example. We all know that Gandhiji was very emphatic about improving the quality of people who sweep the streets, the Safai Kamchari, the sanitation workers. Unfortunately, in the last so many years, several decades, we have done nothing. So 4 girls from a school in Delhi, class 6, sent us an idea. Why can't we use cycle to clean the roads? So when you go on the cycle, the brooms are attached to a bevel gear in a manner that when cycle moves forward, the brooms move in a circle on the ground and clean the road. Can you make that? Now we are talking about an inverted model of innovation. Children give an idea, engineers like you will fabricate them, and companies will commercialize them. We are putting the model of innovation upside down. But there is a child in all of you. So don't have to wait for ideas from children. You can ask the child in you to generate new ideas. Only question is, can you be so open as children often are? Can you be less inhibited as often children are? And use the same childlike youthfulness, the vigor, the joyfulness, the irreverence, so to say, to ask questions. So can we design solutions for the problems around us? So let's go out. Identify the problem that people around us face. Look at the cobbler. Many of you must have got your shoes mended by a shoe mender, cobbler. You must have seen an iron triangle, a device on which he put the shoe and then hammers it. Now that design of the iron triangle was developed when shoes were made of leather and they had nails in them. So you needed to hammer the nails. Today shoes don't have nails. They have adhesive and in some cases stitching. Who will design new machines for the cobbler so that they can service better our needs? Whose shoes he mends after all? He mends our shoes. But we have not given him the tools that can help him to serve us better. There has been an inertia for 150 years. We have not found a solution to the problem. There are women who transplant paddy in the field, millions of them, for hundreds of years, in a back-bending posture, feet in the water, and we still don't have a very good solution. A solution where we can put the nursery plants on the device, you can push it manually or pull it manually, and a fork will pick up the seedlings and put them in the ground properly so the seedlings remain erect, don't fall in the water, and I can keep on doing the task without bending backward. Just as the lady who picks the tea leaves and puts in the basket one time, 2 times, 1,000 times, 2,000 times, she has pain in her shoulders. All the examples that I have given you are the examples where our bright students, on whose shoulders rests the future of our society, have decided to look at another direction when these problems confront them. Not anymore. We expect you all to look at the problems and not live with them indefinitely, but find solutions. So all of you will work on frugal, affordable and inclusive solutions. Thank you.